Good morning, my just my English learners. It's time for more English from the professor. I had a test today and I was up all night last night cramming for it, and then I crashed early. What? Okay. So let's talk about cramming. Cramming for a test. When you cram for a test, it means maybe you didn't study a lot for it all week. But then the last day or the last hour, you study very, very hard. Usually it's cramming the night before. Cramming the night before is studying a lot the night before because you didn't study at all before that. It's not the best way to study, but if someone has a really special mind, in a good way, a good special mind, they can cram for tests and do just fine. I hate those people because they only have to study one night very hard and concentrate for one night, whereas the rest of humanity generally can't do that. Everyone else has to spend a lot more time studying. So usually cramming for a test is not a good idea. But if you really have a great memory and you can do it, that's awesome. Of course, theoretically, if you cram for a test, you will not remember the material after the test. But I don't know. I think those people who can cram for tests and do well on the test also might just remember it better because they have a special part of their brain that works better than everyone else's. But theoretically, cram for a test is not going to be the best way to learn material for most people. But for some people, like some of those people who I knew in college who would cram for a test, then they would go out and party all night, and then they would get an A on the test, and they would remember the material for the final. It's not a problem. But for most people, they can't do that. Boy, did I hate those people. They would party. Some people I knew, they would party while they were taking the test. What do I mean by party? Drink, smoke, everything. They would be doing that. Or these people, before they would cram, they would go to the party, then they say, oh, it's 11 o'clock. I need to go home and study for my chemistry exam tomorrow. And it would not be a problem for them. They would be drunk. They would be stoned. They would be God knows what. And then they would cram for the test. And they would ace the test. Usually cramming for tests does not equal acing the test. Oh, God. But it did for a couple people I know. It did for a lot more than a couple people I know, but there were even a couple more people who would go study drunk, and that would not be a problem for them. The professor says it's going to be a problem for you. I'm not challenging you to prove me wrong, but I'm just saying there are some people who are really, really smart and special, and I don't know exactly how I mean the word special here, who can either, first of all, they can cram for tests. They don't study at all until the night before, and then they just study really hard for an hour. They kind of have a photographic memory. And they either do one of two things. They go to a party and then leave the party at 11 o'clock and go cram for 2 to 5 hours while they're drunk, or they cram for 2 to 5 hours, then go to the party at 11 and they get very drunk and they're fine the next day. I guess the point of this is, don't cram for tests if you really want to learn the material. If you really want to learn the material, you study it every day for an hour. You don't cram for 2 hours or 3 hours the final day, unless you're that very special person. I really don't know what the point of this is. I mean, if you can cram and remember it, that's great. If you can cram and go to the party, I guess that's good. Or if you can go to the party then cram, I guess that's good. I can't do that. Most people can't do that. Some people can do that. I guess the point is, if you want to be successful in life and you're 99.9999% of people, you can't cram and or go to a party and do well on the test. So don't cram and go to parties before tests unless you're the special 0.0001% of people who can do it. The word of the day is to cram. And to ace a test, that's to get 100. And to crash. To crash is to go to sleep early. We'll just throw that out there. Why not? So usually if people are studying late, they crash out early. They crash early, go to sleep early. But some people can go to a party and they can cram and they don't crash early and they still ace the test. And I hate you. Boom.